Welcome to a short demonstration of the tools created for the Marine Biodiversity Observation Network and contributing to the Sustainable Development Goal 14, Life in the Sea. So I'm going to go over these two products. The splash page is here, mbon.marine.usf.edu, from which you can navigate to the Explorer application and the infographic examples for the coral reef habitats in Florida Keys and the pelagic habitat in Monterey Bay. So the real goal here is to allow data-driven storytelling, and you can associate these different elements within a habitat using this infographic approach. So we can look at sea surface temperature, and then we can zoom into events such as this cold snap around 2010, and then look and see how other species might have been affected by these drivers and just get general trends. So we see the mean is the dashed line, and then we see the solid green lines are plus and minus the standard deviation, so you can see when things are anomalously low or high. And this then allows you to tell stories, such as in Monterey Bay, there was this event called the warm blob, in which we saw unusually warm an unusually warm event around 2014 through 16, and then that had cascading effects, for instance on the phytoplankton. In which we saw a very high phytoplankton biomass, and which corresponded with high levels of domoic acid that were released, and redistribution of species. And then we saw things like female sea lion pup weight index down and pup growth weight down, and cascading effects such as whales getting entangled with crab pots. And this sort of infographic allows you to explore some of these time series of results and look at overall status. So we have a bunch of ideas about how to further improve this, but that's the basic idea. And then the Explorer application allows you to actually create some of those data plots or maps. And in this application, where we have a global view rather than just a local view. And for now, there's just OBIS, the Ocean Biogeographic Information System data, in this case describing the number of species found in each country's national waters or exclusive economic zone, and the number of observations. And really this is part of a platform that allows you to wire up data and try, for instance, different metrics like this protection metric, which is combining. We can click on a given layer to then see the a little bit more information about where this comes from. So this is looking at observations inside versus outside marine protected areas coming from the World Database of Protected Areas. And then for those species, looking at the extinction risk from the IUCN Red List associated with them. So if we find, for instance, this goes 0 to 1, and if we find all observations with an extinction risk associated with it, then it would move to a value of 1, being unprotected, and where it's blue and cool, or approaching 0 if all observations with an extinction risk are found inside marine protected areas. So this is just one example of the types of products that you can create and then visualize with platforms such as this. Something else that's kind of nice is that I mentioned that you can save these plots. So we can save this plot, and this is just the protection map globally, and we can add a little caption too, and then save that. and then you can share a URL or the PDF. And I'll just demonstrate the environmental data layers that you can view, and then we'll output one of these little reports so you can see what that looks like. So in this case, we're looking at chlorophyll, and for September 2002. So we can hit this little play button and then see how chlorophyll is changing monthly with this 9-kilometer global resolution data. And we can also just zoom to a time period of interest, and we can select one of these regions. In this case, it's the EEZs, but we could include other regions at a sub-country level, or marine protected areas, or ecological and biologically significant areas. So that's something that we're looking at. But once you have an area selected, then you can look at the summary of that data. So we can zoom to a time period of interest, or we could change it up to a different data layer, such as sea surface temperature, where you really see that seasonal signature. And then we can save the plot, SST time series for Mexico. And there's also seascape data in here too. So we can look at the seascapes, and these are ordination of different categories derived from temperature, chlorophyll, and ocean color characteristics that describe different water masses that associate with different biological communities. So this can similarly be saved as a map, and we can change the time slider for a snapshot in time in the map, or we can also look at this over time and see how these different seascape categories vary in area over time, the extent of which changes over time. And so yeah, let's just save a plot of that too. So we can save this report and then just send this as a bookmark to colleagues. Just put that and send it, say, in an email. Or we can generate a PDF or a Word document or a standalone web page or HTML document. So it takes a little bit of time to generate this output, but I look forward to showing you this when it comes up. And these are the plots that I just created. So the protection map globally, the sea surface temperature for Mexico, seascape map, and the time series of those seascapes. So that's a nice pretty view. You can also click on the HTML view. And the advantage of the HTML standalone page, which you could also send as an attachment to a colleague, is that this works on your local machine. You don't need a server or anything on your machine, but you can still pan around and zoom in and play with the extent temporally or spatially and get more detail. So that's where we're at with the Explorer and infographic apps. Thank you so much for your interest. Please feel free to visit the splash page in future, and you can also check out the presentation that we gave in October at a Global Earth Observation Plenary Side event with more background and detail. Thank you so much.